Hi creators, welcome back to Academic Phoenix Plus. My name is Monica and I am your guide through isometric 3D modeling of a cat cafe. In this video tutorial, we are going to go over how to create the chairs, how to create a cool signage, and then also how to create an espresso machine. If you're new to this channel, I post tutorials on a weekly basis. Software includes Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, and so much more. So if that is your sort of thing, please consider subscribing. So bring out that creativity, open up that software, and let's go ahead and get started in modeling more assets into this cat cafe. All right, this is what we have so far. We worked on the mug, the planter, the table, a bunch of stuff. Today we're going to continue on. So right now I'm in my orthographic view. Let's go to panels perspective so we can start working on other items of the cafe, including, well, I'm going to be working on the chair. So as always, we're going to start off with the shape of a chair, which is usually a cube. So let's go ahead and bring out a cube. And I know I'm going to need more cubes. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it and just have that on the side. I'm going to scale this down. And just like last time, I'm going to do a bevel, but I want to grab those specific corners. So let's grab those corners by holding down Shift. We're going to do a Control B, increase our segment, and then we can play around with the fraction. I want it pretty rounded, so something like this. I'm going to hide this cube for now. And let me focus. And the next thing I want to do is grab the vertex, select the bottom ones and bring them up. And then I also want to widen them a little bit so that they look a little bit more like a chair. Not so hot. So to make it better, let's go ahead and we're going to grab these edges on the side, and you can see that it's not working because we have this end gone. Let's go ahead and go to edges, select everything. And then we can use the top view or a different view, hold down Control and deselect those edges, and then do a Control B. Again, increase your segment, play around with the fraction, and there we go. Now, if you guys are interested in not having these engons, an engon here in Maya is going to be just fine. But if you're going to export it to another engine like Unreal, you can use the multi-cut and start cutting away. Another method is you can try the retopo tool. So we have mesh, retopo, then maybe reduce this to like 150 or something really small. You can also make sure hard edges is active and retopo and see what it does. Right now I'm in object mode. Let's go ahead and retopo, ignore and continue. And there you go. So that could be a really fast way of changing this into quads. Can't even tell the difference. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and bring in the cube that I already hid, and we are going to make the legs. So let's go ahead and scale this by holding down Control, bring it in. Let's go ahead and place it. Now, chairs aren't usually, depends I guess what style of chair, but I want to make this look stylized. Let's go ahead and select these two and do an isolate select so I don't accidentally start selecting everything. And let's make this a little wider. And I do want some shape to it, so let's insert some edges. So I'm going to go ahead and insert an edge here, and then just press W to move it forward. And I also want to make sure that I'm going to go to vertices and move this back a little bit like so. And then, of course, I want to make sure this is inside the mesh. Now this is looking very small. So let's go to vertex and bring it down. So, as always, I like to make sure we have some supporting edges. Let's go ahead and move this to the sides. Let's go to edges, select everything, and then let's Control double click and do a Control B, which is bevel, increase your segments. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and put it back. Let's press 3 on this one so we can see what it looks like smooth. I'm going to make this a little wider. And I might take these vertices and just scale it down a little bit just to give it a bit more shape. Let's go ahead and duplicate this one, but I need to mirror it to the other side. All right, so I can do this, but there's already a value in here. I'm going to show you a trick. I love this trick. Go ahead and freeze your transformations by clicking on this snowflake. And then if you go to the scale Z and change this to -1, it mirrors it. So it's a really fast way of mirroring an object. Let's go ahead and create the cushion. So we're going to bring in a cube. And like the other soft edges, let's go ahead and select these guys, do a Control B, Increase our segments, maybe change diffraction a little bit, type it in, maybe a 0.3. I'm going to grab these vertices here and just scale it in a little bit. Move it in place, and just like everything else, I'm going to go to the side view. I'm going to grab those edges, select it, then hold down Control to deselect these. Do a Control B, increase your segments, and there we go. It looks a little wide, so let's scaling it a little bit. Looks good. Again, if you want to, you can always go to Mesh, retopologize, ignore and continue, and then it can give you a retoppled version of it so that you can import it to whatever engine you like. Next, the legs should be pretty similar. I'm going to take this and lean it a little bit this way and maybe make it a little wider. And I'm going to do the same for these guys. And same story with this one. I'm going to freeze the transformations. I am going to duplicate them, Control D, move them. And then I'm going to flip them. You can go this direction, right? So X, -1. And I don't need these top faces, so let's go to face and delete them. Same thing for this one. Select them, delete them with your keyboard. I feel like the scaling and everything still needs a little love, so let me grab these and scale them down. Then I'm going to bring this up. And I'm going to scale these guys down too. And this looks a little stiff for me, so let me go ahead and insert another edge and just kind of move this forward a little bit so I get a little bit of an arc. There we go. So the easiest way for me is to delete this one, freeze the transformations, duplicate it, -1. And then I don't have to fuss too much about the other one. All right, here is my chair. Maybe make this one a little thicker. And let's remove isolate select, and let's grab everything and group them. Control G to group. It's going to be my chair group. Don't forget to center the pivot. And I do recommend that you freeze your transformations and delete your history, these 3 buttons here. And that way nothing weird's going to happen to your scene or your objects. And there we go. Let's see if it's fitting into the scene. Make sure it's intersecting. Put it in. I'm going to go 2 views. I'm going to go into my orthographic render cam and make it a little bigger. Then duplicate it, Control D, rotate it. Now, if you want to make this look a little bit more cozy, I do recommend that there's some rotation to everything. Because if you type it in 180 degrees exactly, it looks like a computer made it. So, you know, people have a tendency to put chairs not perfect. So if you wanted to make it feel like this is a cafe that people sit in, then don't hesitate to move things around. All right, let's take a look at the render. Ta-da! Cool. All right, next, I feel like we need something for the walls, like a sign. I'm going to go to curves and create a circle. Rotate this 90 degrees and place it over here. And, you know, we could extrude using a curve, but we now have another fancy tool that I love, which is Sweep Mesh. So let's go ahead and select this curve. And we are going to rebuild it. So let's go to curves, rebuild. Let's go to the options. And I'm going to just reset it so it looks like yours. And we can crank it up to about 20. And rebuild. So when I take a look at the control vertex, you'll see that I have a bunch of points. And this is going to be helpful because when we go ahead and go to create sweep mesh, you're going to get a bit of a circle, which is exactly what we want. But as you can see, it's humongous. So just to show you, we're going to go ahead and reduce it. And we don't need to rotate it or anything like that. As you can see, it's a little cubic, and if I press the number 3, it has a really funny shape. So let's grab the NURB circle. It's a little hard to see, so I'm going to turn on wireframe, and we're going to go to, again, rebuild options, and let's go ahead and crank it up to 45. And when we rebuild, you can see that it takes a lot of control vertices to get this nice curvature with the mesh, but it works, and that's the whole point. So let's go back to shaded on, And there we go. We now have a circle. So you can see what it looks like here. I'm going to go back into the attribute editor and just make it a little bit skinnier. Something around 0.07. And when I'm done, I always encourage you guys to center the pivot, delete the history, freeze the transformation. And there is a little, almost looks like a bevel there. You'll notice that when I move it, it's not connected. So we definitely want to connect it. So let's grab those vertices. Let's go to Edit Mesh, Merge, and now they're merged, right? And the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to delete it. Control Delete. There we go. Ta-da! Let me make sure that's on there. Go ahead and hide that NURB circle. And then I'm going to show you the next cool thing, which is how to create text. So we can go to Create, Type, and it's going to be huge. Then we're going to go ahead and type in cafe. It's huge. And then we can pick a font, which is the one that takes the longest. So we can go something like that, or maybe something like this. Actually, that looks nice. Then, of course, you can play around with the font size and the tracking, the kerning, which I probably want them to look like they're attached. Though I might have to play with it a little bit. And then I want this closer for sure. And let's take a look at the geometry. We can change how much mesh we want. We can also work on the extrusion, which as you can see has a lot of mesh. So we might want to go ahead and reduce the scale and maybe not so many divisions. But let's not forget to enable bevel, which is wild right now, but let's go ahead and reduce the offset. We can also reduce that bevel distance. And there's different types of bevel, right? So you have this curved one, you have all different types. So you get to play around with the bevel. It's kind of fun. And then we have text. So again, when you're done, you can go ahead and delete the history, freeze transformation, all that stuff. And let's go ahead and pop it in here. It's got a lot of mesh. I probably would have to go in and clean it up a little bit. I really don't need all that. Control Delete. But the point is that it's working, and we now have a cat cafe signage. Now I do want to move these a little closer, so I'm gonna offset them myself. So I'm gonna double click and just gonna move these over here a little bit. Go back to object mode and then move this to the center, like that. All right, let's take a render. Ta-da! I'm gonna hit play because I want to make sure this looks good. And let me scale this up, and then I can scoot this up, something like that. How fun is that? Starting to look like a cafe. Let's take a look at it in the render cam. Hit 1, and then I can zoom out a little bit. I might have to move this down. There we go.
Done.
Cool. We got our chairs, we got our signage. It's starting to look really nice. Now we can't make this look like a coffee shop without a espresso machine, so let's work on that next. Let's go ahead and grab a cube. Bring it up. I might as well place it into the scene. Focus. Press F for focus. I'm going to scale this down to make it more rectangular. And just like the other ones, let's go ahead and select those bevels or those edges to bevel. Control B, increase your fraction. Whoa! Increase your segments. And then we're going to do the same thing. Grab the edges, look at it through a side view. Deselect these, Control B, increase your segments, reduce your fraction. And now I have a base. I'd make it a little wider. Next is the back, so another cube. Let's go ahead and scale it, fit it in here. Scale it some more. Control B for bevel, my favorite. Increase your segments, reduce your fraction. And now we have the back of the machine. So that's what it looks like. Smooth preview. Another cube. The middle mouse and snap. I will bring it in here. And for this one is going to be the top of the Espresso Machine. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than the rest of it, but Let's go ahead and size it in here. Now for this one, I'm probably going to do a little bit of modeling because I do want to have a larger bevel than the base. So I'm going to just model it by grabbing it. I'm going to go ahead and extrude, Control E, and lift, and then just scale it in. Control E, just lift a little bit, scale it some more in, and that should give me a bit of a bevel that, whoops, I'm missing. And now you can see it kind of collapsed there. So let's go ahead and grab these edges. And we're going to do a Control B, and this one's going to be a rounded corner. This one I'm going to extrude and just kind of scale it in a little bit, maybe down just a tiny bit. And now I have the top of an espresso machine. It's looking a little too thin, so I'm going to make it a little wider and see what that looks like. There we go. A little wider. This could be a little skinnier. And then let's go ahead and fit all of it onto the scene. I'm going to grab this, press 1, grab all these vertices and just kind of move it up a little bit. All right, now the espressos. This time we're going to do something different. A cylinder. Isn't that crazy? We've been using so many cubes. We actually have other shapes. So what I'm going to do is go into the inputs, bring this down a little bit and change the cap to 0. It just makes it a little bit easier to model. And for this one, the top one, if you like, just go ahead and retopo and see what you get. You can do the same thing for this one. So if you press the number 3, still looks nice. And there's no n-gons, and there's also no triangles. I'm going to focus on this one. I'm going to scale it. And this is where the coffee is going to come from. Now, it's going to be a little hard to see, so I'm going to extrude. I'm not going to spend too much time in it, but it does have a little coffee. And then I'm going to insert an edge loop. And let's go ahead and bevel. There we go. Simple. But what's going to make it look like an espresso machine are the handles. So I'm going to grab another cylinder. Beveled mouse and snap. They're pretty large because my scene's pretty small. Same thing with this one. Let's go to the caps and change this to 0. And in this case, I'm going to reduce my subdivision to about 12. Let's rotate this 90 degrees on the Z. And we're going to scale it. Now this is going to be the handle. And the handle starts a little small and then it gets a little bigger and it also is rounded. So we're going to extrude. We're going to bring it out and increase the size. And extrude again. Then extrude again. And start scaling it down. All right, there we go. You can grab these and just bring it out a little bit. And we can also kind of shift this a little bit. All right, press the number 3. And there you go. It's cute. All right, let's grab these two and group them. Control G. Center the pivot. And move it in. I'm going to rotate it. Whoop. It is centered right here, so if you want to move it more over here, I'm going to hit the letter D and move that pivot point. And now I can duplicate this, move it to the other side. Does that look like an espresso machine to you guys? All right, I want to add some sort of little grill or something down here. So let's grab a plane. And I'm going to the inputs and reduce the width and significantly reduce the height. Let's get myself a little more, and I'm going to go to, whoops, looks like it's a little too close there. Go to edges and select every other and lift. And then I'm going to go to edges again. I'm still there. Select all of this and do a Control B, which will give us fractions and segments. And then I'm going to double click on this, Control E, which is extrude, press W to go down and then scale it flat. And then I have this piece. Ta-da! Orthographic render view. There you go. Let's take a render. It's looking a little small. It's looking like an espresso maker, but I do feel like it's a little small. So let's grab all of our pieces. Control G, which is grouping. And then we can call this the Espresso Machine. Again, don't forget to center that pivot, and I'm going to scale. Looks good. And of course, any espresso machine will have one of these coffee cups. So let's go ahead and bring it up. And we're going to rotate it. Let me freeze the transformations here. It'll be easier to rotate. 180 degrees. Let me go to my perspective view. Move that pivot point down here. That's why snapping would be a little easier, and then I can start placing the coffee cups, because usually they have coffee cups right here. Little mugs. Here's one. Let's scale it down a little bit. Make sure the handle's not in the way. Duplicate it. Move this one this way. Maybe move it back a tiny bit. Control D. Looks good. I might want to grab these. Just nudge it forward just a little bit so we can see it a little bit better. And there we go. Starting to look like a cafe. Well, hopefully you learned a thing or two. If you did, please like and subscribe. That's your message to me, letting me know that you like this content and that you want to see more. Don't forget to share my videos. If you know of somebody that is a 3D artist and wants to build an isometric cafe or anything in isometric in Maya, then please share my videos. That would be amazing. Liking, sharing, and subscribing would really help me out and to get my videos out there and also keep them free. Don't forget to take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. There you will find free videos, ebooks, and so much more. So take a look at academicphoenixplus.com. Again, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I will see you next time in the next video tutorial as we finish up this cat cafe.